Hello and welcome to another video. So I haven't covered a rotation Tenko list for a while. We did cover an unlimited one not that long ago, but rotation Tenko is definitely a whole different beast as far as the majority of the card setups go, because of the fact that you're lacking a lot of small heal cards that of course unlimited has, and you've got to make do with what you can. I always enjoyed Tenko, it was always a fun craft for me, similar to Daria, but of course once they do leave the meta or they become a meta themselves, they're not quite as enjoyable. At least pre-meta, before this deck was a meta deck originally, this deck was a lot of fun because a lot of people wouldn't expect it, there wasn't a lot of countering going on, and post-meta, of course, everyone knows how Tenko plays, so it's not as surprising, but I wanted to give it a go. We're kind of in a slump at the moment, videos-wise, as there's just not a lot of decks around at the moment, and the only two crafts that I can't cover fully would be Shadow and Forest, and those two crafts only really have one deck each, maybe two if you want to be generous, and they're really not that different, so little unfortunate there, but hopefully we'll be able to get some of those cards after the mini expansion. I am stockpiling quite a collection of packs and stuff for that, so you guys can enjoy that, but we're going to get right into this and check it out. So first up we are against Forest. That's definitely one of the more iffy matchups for this deck as far as they go, just because the removal that you have isn't super early game, not like some other Haven decks. So you're really relying on dealing with things with small pressure, and unfortunately Forest's flood abilities are just absolutely crazy. Being able to just flood the board with fairies, buff them all and go face is pretty insane and hard to deal with. You nearly can't afford to leave barely anything up in the kind of turn 3 to 4 space. Turn 1 and 2 are usually pretty safe. And usually the time I want to set up whatever I can, which is why we did go for the unicorn there. So the only real problem becomes long term. We need to make ourselves as self-contained as possible. I did decide to go face because I didn't want them just, you know, easily trading off here. But now I'm kind of wishing I had have probably, you know, killed off the 1-1 there, or at least hit it so that it wouldn't be a problem later on. Because I do plan on going for the Sanctuary next turn, actually setting up a massive amount of draw power should be quite good. Being able to draw 3 at the start of my next turn, basically, should be good. And of course we've also got the Jewel, which is going to heal us and deal a little bit of damage, so we're actually going to be able to negate at least a little bit of what they have done. Alright, so this is where things get more interesting. So it still feels like the safest bet is that Forgotten Sanctuary. Buying ourselves time until we can get to Purge, where wiping a big board won't be an issue. Buying ourselves time is definitely the most important thing we can do against Forest at the moment. Because we can negate a lot of like green axe by healing and stuff like that, but it really becomes a problem later on in situations like this. So clearing this 3-4 is now my utmost important. But not a bad option. So we get our healing on board, we've already got a potential for another ward to pop out, we really don't have a lot to worry about. The real problem now is the fact that this has Bane and I have to deal with it. And I really want a chance to put up my Godsworn so that they can't deal any mass amounts of damage if it isn't just a straight up aggro forest. If it's more of a mid-rangey forest, I don't want to be hit with some big damage drop a little later on. Which does happen, I've definitely seen it, it's not fun. Here we go, Omen of Craving. This is going to make for a much more interesting match now. I have seen one forest deck like this floating around, and it's definitely an interesting one. So we're just going to focus on developing our board, healing and protecting ourselves, since that's all we really need to do at this point. And there is Sylvian Justice. Great. Just the card you want to see on a day like today. So they're going full board so they can do this buff, not a surprise. Lucky for us, Purge is going to be 100% the way to go with this. And since they aren't doing anything else, we're actually going to be able to go for 9 damage to face before we Purge. I feel like this was the best way to stop, of course, them self-healing. I really didn't want them gaining all that health. Plus, I was guaranteed to get this dragon out, which is 100% the best way to do things. There's just a couple of weaker fairies and a peerless shot. Without the Evo, not a threat anyway. Alright, going face, clearing the board, and basically able to do whatever we want. We actually, if they hadn't have conceded, setting up Black Diamond would have put them on a clock, because of course they would have had to have healed, and top decking, not the best way to handle things. For our next match, we're actually up against Haven. Sorry, Rune. I'm playing Haven. For some reason, I always stuff up when I go to think about these things, and unfortunately, sometimes that's life. So, keeping and changing. What do I normally keep and change in Tenko? Usually, if I have a Tenko shrine, I will at least keep it. If I have White Fang Temple, I'll typically keep it. If I have multiples, I'll usually dump one of them. Most of the time, I find keeping just one Tenko is enough. Aiming for then lower drops is always good. Healing set up before Tenko is always beneficial. And in a match against Rune like this, you don't need to worry about them being too super aggressive. I mean, the odds of you hitting an aggro Rune deck is reasonably low. Low enough that I don't even change my playstyle going into a Rune match. If I was playing against something more aggressive, I would definitely be aiming for that more aggressive curve, so that they have to deal with threats I'm putting down and not the other way around. So double White Fang because I don't really have any other good play, and I go for the Sealed Tomb because I just want an extra draw. We don't really have that many good draw cards right now, and I really need to get something else into my hand to take advantage of. A Banishment would have actually been ideal. But somehow I don't see that happening. So we are going to get to remove this now. It's not going to be optimal, but it means we get to drop Tenko for free, which is always good. We don't have to worry about our opponent having anything on board. If they kill this Tenko, we set up another one, so on, so on. Which, at this point, I don't think Rune has anything big that could completely disrupt our Tenko play. And we've still got, of course, Gem Princess, which would be quite nice, or just playing another Tenko, depending on how we want to go with things, which going with another Tenko actually might be the better play, at least right now, since it is going to wipe both of these out, and we don't have to worry about wasting Evo points, so always good. And if we set up the, of course, the Gem Princess next turn, we'll be looking at infinite healing, which is good. We'll heal every single turn. Alright, and there's some wasted removal, another good thing for us. And again, I don't actually have to use my Evo, because of course the Tenkos will take care of these. The only real problem becomes later on in the game. If they deal any kind of damage to me, the Mysteria card drops can be a real danger to deal with. Luckily though, I don't think that's going to be a problem. Light Mage, okay, so best way to deal with that. So wiping this board becomes kind of the best thing I want to do. Getting a good ping would be important. But either way, we are going to clear the board, which will let us go for 12 damage this turn, along with some decent setup. So Holy Winged Dragon, that's 8, and double Tenko pings. 5 health, not a good spot for this Rune player, especially since we haven't seen an Anne play. Not that an Anne play would be a big deal, because of course dealing from 20 is not easy with Mysteria. You really want to battle around 15. 20 is definitely not impossible, but getting it dead on 10 for 20 damage is definitely not a feat that's simple. So I hope you guys did enjoy this video. I have a lot of fun playing Tenko decks. While this, of course, isn't the best deck in our current meta, it's just a little bit of fun, again, for the downtime until probably nearly the mini expansion or some other kind of nerf. Prior to that, there's really not a lot going on in the current Shadowverse meta. There's not really a lot of big changes, even post-nerf from last month. We've seen, of course, Shadow and Forest pick up a little bit more, but that's really about it. Other than those two decks, nothing else really changed too much. I mean, Rune got a little less consistent. Dragon, no change at all. Still just as oppressive as it probably ever has been. Other than, of course, the change to the draw, which really, with the way you ramp, doesn't make that big a difference. But overall, a little bit of fun. Hope you guys enjoyed it. You'll find the deck list in the description below. Be sure to hit the like button and subscribe for more content. Until next time, see ya.